Welcome back to The Takeout. Welcome to The Takeout Tavern. Reporter panel time. Julia Manchester, White House correspondent for The Hill. Juliegrace Brufke, Capitol Hill reporter and founder of the Sources Say newsletter. So we have a beverage here. It is called a Ginger Paloma, which is the name of a drink. It is not a handle on OnlyFans, okay? Here we go. I'm going to pour that out, all right? You tell us what's in this, Juliegrace, because it's your idea.
It's got sparkling, so we've got like soda water, tequila, and then there's like a ginger beer situation going on there.
And remember, kids, it's always coffee with me because I got to keep my wits about me. You please enjoy. Please enjoy. Cheers. There we go. That's what we do at the tavern. All right. So I want to play a soundbite from J.D. Vance because he talked about socialism and its attractiveness to young Americans and what Republicans ought to be mindful about when they try to deal with it. Let's listen.
Our response to that can't be just to ignore the economic concerns that I think are feeding this rising interest in socialism. And I guess I would say to that young person that you as an American citizen deserve to have a good life in this country, and you deserve to have a government that is making it easier for you to start a family, for you to afford to get a good education, for you to have a good job, for you to afford a home.
He also said that Republicans can't just fall back on slogans about free market virtues.
You know, it's interesting because we've seen the Trump administration continue, despite the fact that we've seen economic indicators suggest the economy is not necessarily picking up. They've continued to say it's happening, everything's okay, it's going to get better, et cetera. But people aren't feeling that. And I think that's what J.D. Vance is acknowledging there. And I think there's a lot of deja vu because we heard the same thing during the Biden administration and during that campaign, the Trump campaign, calling them out. So I think this is J.D. Vance really trying to maybe inject some reality at a time when voters are really going to start to pay attention ahead of the midterms.
That's one part of it. Juliegrace, there's another part of it, because just this week, the president stopped saying communists. He started saying jihadists when describing those on the far progressive left. J.D. Vance is not using any of that terminology. He's saying, wait a minute, there's a legitimate argument here, and we better figure out a way to talk about it.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely a thing. And it's hard to see that talking point not being used by Democrats as you're heading into the midterms. And I've talked to a couple of Republicans.
And undercutting the president about communists and jihadists or some sort of thing.
I mean, I feel like both talking points, there are some moderate Republicans that aren't real thrilled either way. But I mean, I do think that, we've looked at how some of these primaries have panned out, and Democratic socialists have been prevailing. I mean, you look at some of these races in New York.
It's a mixed bag. Some places, some more momentum than others. But clearly there is something ascendant, at least in the conversation on the Democratic side.
In the conversation on the Democratic side, but also among younger voters, and maybe among younger voters who were interested in Trump world in 2024 and might be up for grabs from Democrats.
And what strikes me as interesting about this right now is because as Trump rose, there were plenty of Democrats who said, that's so bad, you can't be attracted to that. And guess what? Voters said, you know what? We'll make up our minds about that. I wonder if Republicans are finding themselves in a similar place. Like, you can't be attracted by that. And voters are saying, guess what? We'll decide what we're attracted to.
Absolutely. And I think for J.D. Vance to sort of put out this appeal, I think it's maybe a bit more palatable to voters who truly are undecided, or voters who may have liked Trump in 2024 and aren't so sure now. And for J.D. Vance, who's considering a presidential run,
very much so.
I think it certainly does sort of cast him in a light that's maybe more moderate than his boss.
Juliegrace, you have a newsletter, lots of stuff in it. What's uppermost on your mind?
So this week we had Nancy Mace, who has introduced a bill to ban staff from living with their bosses. Which I broke some news semi-recently, also in the newsletter, on Abe Hamadeh living with a staffer, which would be caused a lot of issues within his office and some issues there. So she had moved forward with arguing that this needed to be prevented for sexual misconduct, et cetera. But then
blurring of lines and things like that.
So I talked to, I think, 6 of her former staffers who were like, well, she was living with her campaign manager during her first run and renting
not romantically, but just yes, but just there.
And I had spoken to one of her staffers who was like, she used to have me crash at her house instead of a hotel some of the time. So
to save money and other things. Yeah. So it doesn't exactly line up, as we say. Caroline Leavitt is gone, stepping down. Any idea who might replace her or when that might happen?
So a number of names have been floated. Anna Kelly, the principal White House press secretary, Caroline's deputy, she's certainly top of mind. You've even heard CNN's Scott Jennings floated. Julie Grace, actually, we were chatting about this before, and talking about some other potential contenders. But sources inside the White House and outside of the White House tell me there doesn't really seem to be a huge rush to replace Caroline Leavitt. Remember, just a few months ago when she was on maternity leave, they fared pretty well without her, with that rotating cast of characters. And at the end of the day, the president is his best.
President is #1 press secretary, communications director, and all that. Julia Manchester, Juliegrace Brufke, thank you. I didn't even have a drink, and I stumbled on that. Forgive me.
There you go.
Quick reminder, The Takeout is available as a podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and everywhere else. You can find each show there and our long-form interviews, of which we do many.